What does it mean when your armpits cry stinky tears? Yeah, a new family record. Way to raise the bar, Dad.
That's cool that Dad slept in the kitchen. Hey, Dad, you ever think of welfare? That's like free money, you know. Dad's getting $150,000 a week in welfare. Isn't that cool?
Before the first episode ever aired, before the theme song became iconic, and before Peter Griffin had a family, there was a college project called The Life of Larry. That was the prototype. Seth MacFarlane created it as a student film at the Rhode Island School of Design, featuring a crude, overweight man named Larry and his sarcastic talking dog, Steve. The DNA was obvious. Larry would become Peter, Steve would become Brian. That short film caught the attention of Hanna-Barbera. With funding from Fox, MacFarlane adapted it into a pitch called Family Guy, and that pitch became the lost pilot. In that original version, many voices were different. Chris Griffin was voiced by Seth MacFarlane himself. It was rough, awkward, and never aired. Seth dropped the role before the series launched.
Remember when Dad got drunk off the communion wine at church?
And so the Lord God smoked poor Job with festering boils all over his body.
Oh God, I hate it when he tells this story.
Meg Griffin went through the most change. First, Rachel MacFarlane, Seth's sister, filled in during the early pilot phase. Then came Lacey Chabert, who voiced Meg throughout season 1. Finally, Mila Kunis took over in season 2, bringing a flatter, more monotone energy that became Meg's signature style. Kunis's take made Meg a punchline, a victim, and strangely relatable all at once.
I remember when Stewie was born. He was the only baby I've ever seen who came out smiling.
Who cares about food? Now we'll never be able to afford my lip injections!
I have to tell you something, Adam.
You're an alien. I know.
No. My dog is gonna expose our relationship to the press.
Peter's voice wasn't based on any actor at all. It came from a security guard Seth overheard back in college. A thick, exaggerated Rhode Island accent with no filter between thought and speech.
Peter was a mixture of a lot of different, voices. There was a security guard that worked at the Rhode Island School of Design who had this really, really thick, really expressive Rhode Island accent.
Boy, you guys are not sucking me into the story at all. I'm just telling you for your own benefit. I'm very aware that I'm watching a play right now.
Brian was always just Seth's natural speaking voice. Nothing more, nothing less. He didn't invent a new character, he just walked into the studio and talked.
Ooh, I forgot to pick up the paintball guns. I think that was the Council of Trent.
Glenn Quagmire came from something totally different. MacFarlane described it as an impression of a 1940s fast-talking radio guy. Part vintage announcer, part sex offender. The voice is elastic, bouncing between high-pitched squeals and crooner-level lows, shifting gears with every giggity.
Quagmire started off as throwback to this, this guy whose house looked like, something out of a Peter Sellers movie, and that voice kind of came from me listening to old radio dramas from the 50s. There was a bookstore in my hometown when I was a kid, and you could go in and they sold audio tapes, things like The Lone Ranger or Suspense or The Shadow. And the commercials were so absurd and just, everybody talked like this. And it was just, that sort of mid-Atlantic, I guess, existed right in the pocket that the microphones of that time could handle. The low end wasn't there yet. And so it was all about mid-range.
All right, and I just recorded you saying that. And hi, I am Glenn Quagmire.
Then there's Dr. Hartman, whose voice is just Peter Griffin slowed down and given a medical degree. Seth admitted that outright. Same vocal base, just a little more spaced out, a little more clueless. You'll also hear that same cadence pop up in Carter Pewterschmidt, Peter's father-in-law. Sharper, richer, more polished, but still undeniably from the same vocal family tree. MacFarlane's range doesn't stop at main characters. He also voices Tom Tucker, the news anchor with the smooth delivery and absurd ego. And then there's Seamus, the wooden-armed sailor with a wheeze. All of them voiced by Seth, all distinct, all shaped by rhythm, tone, and a willingness to stretch the boundary of what a cartoon voice could be. The entire structure of Family Guy rests on his vocal control. One man, multiple personas. And most fans never even noticed.
Why is this story all about Mom this week? What, are we giving Seth's voice a rest?
Lois has always been voiced by Alex Borstein, but her early voice was deeper and slower. In the original pilot, Borstein gave her a husky, softer tone, almost maternal, but as the show's pace picked up, Seth MacFarlane asked her to tighten it. The result is the Lois we know now, quicker, a bit nasal, still warm, but sharp enough to shut Peter down with a single line.
I just love this place. I've been coming here for years. I can't imagine going anywhere else. It would be like cheating. Well, sure, but maybe your hairdresser will do that for you if you just, give him a little direction.
Meg, of course, went through the most shifts. Rachel MacFarlane covered the pilot. Lacey Chabert gave her a more typical teenage voice in season 1, but it was Mila Kunis who locked in that flat, beaten-down tone, the voice of a girl worn down by her family's endless jabs. Kunis's version is dry, defeated, and exactly what Meg needed to stand out.
I'm back. I brought another picnic. You're such a good listener. You're not like the other boys. You're so good with animals. I guess I could give it a try. All right, here goes. Hi, Craig. I was wondering if maybe you'd want to, I don't know, go out sometime?
Chris's voice might be the most interesting of all. In the earliest test versions, Seth MacFarlane voiced him himself, but it just didn't land. It sounded more like a stoner in his 30s, or some old-age surfer dude trying to fake high school. So they brought in Seth Green. Green famously based Chris's voice on Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. High, vacant, and just unsettling enough to be funny. What started as a subtle, awkward teenager tone gradually morphed. As the show went on, Chris's voice became more spaced out, more disconnected. His early seriousness gave way to a dazed delivery that matched the writer's shift in his character.
Hi, I'm going door-to-door to campaign on behalf of Lois Griffin, who's offering real change for the city of Quahog. May we count on your vote next Tuesday?
Chris, this is our house.
Ah, then what is for dinner?
Pork chops.
Excellent.
Chris, have you been to any other houses?
I have not.
Would you like to come in?
Please.
What is it about masturbation that so appeals to you?
Well, James, it's free, and it's really one of the things I can claim is all mine. Except in the occasion where someone will witness it, in which case it's something we share.
I see.
That's how you hurt your hand, isn't it?
Cleveland Brown had one of the most distinct voices in the original lineup. Voiced by Mike Henry, the tone was slow, steady, and pulled from a soft-spoken friend Henry had in Virginia. The voice leaned into calm awkwardness, always a beat too slow, always a little too polite.
I must say, I do feel a strange satisfaction watching the black ball topple all those self-righteous white...
Those are so his mannerisms.
Henry also created other recurring voices, like Consuela and Herbert, the latter based on an elderly grocery store bagger from Henry's teenage years. But in 2020, during a broader push for authentic casting, Henry stepped down from voicing Cleveland. He said characters of color should be voiced by people of color. Arif Sahir, a YouTube impressionist and longtime fan of the show, was brought in. His version is a little faster, a little higher in pitch, but the cadence is still recognizable. Fans were split. Some praised the continuity, others missed the original dry delivery that Henry had perfected over decades.
Hey, Arif, what's with all the boxes? I mean, what are you, a hoarder? Hey, Junior, we have a mega fan!
Other characters, like Bonnie Swanson, stayed mostly stable. Voiced by Jennifer Tilly, Bonnie's raspy tone has only naturally aged.
My idol? And what does Martha tell you to do when guests drop by for dinner and you haven't had time to shop?
The pilot was crude, the pacing was off, the voices were still settling into place, but the foundation was there, and every voice, even the ones that didn't survive, helped shape the ones that did. These voices weren't just sound, they were identity, and they still are.
Wow, what a relief. For once to talk with my real voice without the burden of trying to sound like someone I'm not.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this is my real voice.
I don't hear a difference.
How about now? You freaking hear that?
What about now? Sound different? Giggity?
What about now?
Coming up now, this voice. Ahoy, it's me.
And I'm a gay alien.
I'm sorry, that just all sounds like the same person.